Put all the paintings that you want to have glossed in a stack from large to small. We gloss the largest ones first because when we put them in the drying rack, if they have any drips, they'll fall to the floor instead of on the paintings underneath them. Shake giclée wall vertical to remove dust, fibers, and debris. Place it on a clean table, on top of boards or PVC pipes. This is to keep it elevated off of the table so it doesn't pick up any debris. Put the foam core between the canvas and the brace bar. This prevents the sponge from hitting the brace bar while glossing. Here is another example of placing foam core in a canvas that has a lot more bracing. Next, we are going to mix the varnish. We use acrylic gloss medium and varnish and distilled water. In a clean bucket with a clean whisker, make sure to rinse the bucket and whisker off before using. Start off with a mixture of 2/3 gloss medium and varnish to 1/3 distilled water. Whisk vigorously. The mixture should slightly coat the whisker. If it is too thin, add more gloss medium. If it is too thick, add more distilled water. Label bucket with date and mixture. Repeat on container. Clean sponge off on clean cloth. This is to remove loose fibers. Pour a small amount of mixture into container. Insert sponge. Turn on a bright light slightly above canvas. The reflection of the light off the wet varnish allows you to see where the dry spots are. This is what the dry canvas looks like. Wipe off canvas with a clean cloth, brushing from the center out. Also make sure to get the edges, especially the edge that was sitting on the floor. Make sure foam core is positioned above the brace bar or brace bars before you start. Right after applying varnish, zigzag the edges of the varnish coat. If you leave the varnish in a straight line, it will soak into the absorbent canvas surface and you will see this mark later. If the canvas is somewhat loose, you'll want to hold up the back with your hand so the varnish does not hit the edge of the stretcher bar. You also will want to apply the gloss quickly and from light to dark if possible. That is why we are starting with the sand on this beach print instead of the sea. On the first coat, the ink can bleed slightly, especially if it has gone over multiple times, so go quick. Also, sometimes the varnish will start to ball up if you work into a drying edge or a somewhat dry area. This is why it's super important to work quickly, so no areas have a chance to start drying before you work into them. Remember to do the edges. After getting one section thoroughly glossed, try to make little C-shapes across the canvas with a somewhat dry sponge to create little brush strokes and to spread any globs of varnish. Thoroughly wipe down drips off the bottom of the canvas. This is very important as those drips could land on the canvas below it and blob up the surface. Double check the folds in the corners to make sure the varnish did not pool in them. If you went quick and the varnish is still wet, check the reflection of the varnish in the reflection of the light and touch up the spots you might have missed. If the varnish has started to dry, skip this step. This is how we check the gloss coating in the reflection of the light. Put the canvas into the drying rack. Try to position it so the drips from the canvas above it, if there are any, don't fall on the face of the canvas you just inserted. Also do a quick visual scan to make sure there are no drips on the canvas you just inserted. If there are, wipe them with a paper towel so they don't hit the next canvas you insert. When inserting the canvas into the drying rack, make sure nothing is resting on the surface of it, like this bar from above, or this price tag, or this wire. Wait at least 24 hours before applying a second coat. Make sure the foam core is on top of the brace bar so the varnish does not hit the brace bar when applying. Inspect the first coat of gloss in the reflecting light. Try to find any spots that may have been missed in the first coat of varnishing. Make a mental note as to where they are. Dab excess gloss off of the corner folds. Because the first coat has sealed the print, the second coat is not as likely to leave hard edges or pick up bleeding ink, so you don't need to zigzag the strokes of varnish immediately. It is still important to go somewhat fast because the varnish can still ball up if you work into partially dry areas. Keep inspecting the gloss in the reflecting light. Wipe the drips off the bottom before putting it in the drying rack. Position in the drying rack so if there are any drips from the canvas above, they will not land on the surface of this canvas. Having additional wood blocks on the table prevents the canvas from touching the table after glossing, potentially keeping it more clean.